Great to have you in.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Yes, it's a pleasure. So there's some strategy, right, to actualize CBN's goal, the projected $1 billion monthly diaspora remittance target and $12 billion annually. How do you see the introduction and the launch of this NRBVN as a measure to achieving that?
Well, if we go back to how the central bank started all this, at the point in time we have the very volatile FX markets, and what the central bank did was they actually increased the number of their MTOs. And so what they're trying to do is to actually get a number of them outside the country. So what that would do is they can actually help them to actually harness some of this inflow into the country. And the second leg of it is what the central bank just did now, which to me actually makes a great sense. Because what they've been able to do is to actually remove the hassle of some of these guys offshore to actually need to actually come down to Nigeria before they can actually open an account or actually have a BVN. And what this will also do is that it will actually help the central bank to be able to trace transactions so easily. So when you look at it all in all, it means that the central bank is just progressing in its FX framework that they actually announced sometime last year. So it means that they are just taking it a notch higher, and because the end goal is to actually help to actually generate more FX inflows in the country and help to actually stabilize the currency.
Yes, and of course the transparency measure that you highlighted there. So for the average Nigerian who somewhat depends on family abroad, we have about 17 million Nigerians, according to NIDCOM, living abroad. For them, what does this move mean? Those dependent on money from their family abroad.
Also, it simply means that the ease of getting money should be easier compared to how it used to be. And imagine when you need to actually send money through the IMTOs, you need to go through IMTOs before the fund actually gets your account in Nigeria and before getting to the final destination. But with the introduction of these, so what it will mean is that I also think that the central bank can also now utilize the eNaira platform as a platform to also use to actually augment this. So it simply means that if you are offshore and you have an account in Nigeria, you may not need to go through a long button before you can actually get money into your account in Nigeria. So it's simply debiting the dollar account and crediting the Naira account, and you get the Naira in your account. So with that, you can easily do some of your transaction very faster. People in Nigeria can actually get their fund very fast, and also investments in different sectors of the economy can also be rapid because there are many times that most of these guys see opportunity in Nigeria, but by the time they think about when to actually send money, and by the time the money gets to the account, and most of those opportunities, they are not available again. I imagine you looking at actually invest in the stock market, and you see an opportunity before you actually inflow funds into Nigeria. Some of those opportunities have disappeared. So, but with this, it also helps them to actually maintain a Naira account where they can actually warehouse Naira easily and also can actually use it for most of their Naira transactions. So they may not necessarily need to actually be pressed until when they can do transactions in Nigeria.
Yeah. I mean, that's some progress, especially when it comes to the ease of doing business and receiving funds, cross-border payments. But obviously, it's one thing at a time. This move is laudable, but we know that there are still other loopholes and other measures that we need to put in place to drive the ease of the flow of diaspora remittance into Nigeria. What are some of these measures and what are some of these loopholes that still need to be plugged?
I think one of the loopholes that the government needs, the CBN needs to find a way around speed. Because mostly what people now do is more like P2P. Most people don't actually go to most of these IMTOs again. And that's one of the reasons why in 2023, it was reported that we had about 20 billion worth of diaspora remittance, but we barely can only account for only just 3 billion out of it. So it simply means that about 17 billion actually stayed offshore and never actually graced Nigeria environment, but yet it was actually supposed to be an inflow into our system. Imagine you having about 70 billion coming into your FX market. I'm sure there won't be this level of volatility that we have seen in the past. So the central bank needs to actually work in that regard to ensure that the speed of transfer of money so that it can actually compete with what other method of transferring funds. And also the cost of transfer need to actually reduce drastically. If the central bank can work to an extent where it can be zero, I think it will be a very great one for a start. Because when you look at the average cost of actually remitting funds in sub-Saharan Africa, it accounts to between 5 to 7%. And that is actually massive. And that will also be a deterrent to why most of people may not actually want to actually inflow funds. Because when you're already looking at 7% of whatever you are sending is already going off as transaction costs. So it can actually be one of the deterrents. So the central bank needs to also work within that way to ensure that they actually minimize the cost, or actually if they can actually take the cost to very close to zero. What that would do is that it will further help to actually increase the level of FX inflow that will actually be coming to our economy and can also help in developing the economy further. Yeah,
indeed. So we're talking speed, we're talking cost as well. Definitely those need to be addressed. But there are also speculations that a stronger or at least a stable naira is expected following the launch of this NRBVN. How is this expected to play out? How do you see the launch of this contributing significantly to sustaining the naira's value?
Well, one of the ways that it will help most people in diaspora to be able to take advantage of investment opportunity in the Nigerian space. Look at what is happening in the capital market. A lot of them are not even aware of the opportunity that's available in the Nigerian market. There are a lot of carry trade opportunity. Some of them can actually take loan at single digits over there and can invest in like a treasury bill that can give you close to about 24% worth of return. And such inflow, when it comes to Nigeria economy, what it will do is that it will help to actually increase the level of supply of dollars into the market, and to a great extent create a lot of stability in the market. Most times you get to see manufacturers actually waiting to actually get FX to actually meet by maybe import raw material, machineries, and some other things. We have invisible demands actually most time on CBN table. And one of the things that this will also do, it will help to actually clear some of these obligations. And when this is done, like I said earlier, it will bring about stability of currency. And we can even see more like a better naira than what we are currently seeing now.
To those days, but at least $18 billion out of the $20 billion remitted into Nigeria in 2023 didn't make it to the country's shores. This is according to Taiwo Idele. He says that most Nigerians abroad, they send the money using apps that allow them to deposit the foreign currency equivalent to the receiver in Nigeria while the money remains abroad. That is, the foreign currency remains abroad. So how is this being addressed? Does the NRBVN solve this issue in any way?
I think to a great extent, it will reduce the number of activity that's actually going through the back door. And that's one of the reasons why I said, aside this, there are still some other things that we need to add to it. And that's why I mentioned the cost. We need to ensure that the cost of doing such transactions actually very close to zero. And one of the reasons why I mentioned that is that when you are looking at most things, what happened on that platform, most of them, they barely pay any yield transaction cost. It's just the bid and offer transaction cost. And it's not as sizable as like the 7%, 5 to 7% average that we have seen in sub-Saharan Africa as the cost of remittance. So we need to work on the cost, and also we need to work on the speed. Because operating on the platform, you've seen people in the US most time, they use a platform called the Tap, and what they do on that transaction platform, when you actually send money to the platform credits your Naira account just immediately. Just immediately. It means that it's something that central bank can also do. If central bank can work with other banks in this regard, and that's why I mentioned that the e-Naira platform will be a very great one for the central bank to actually utilize. What they need to just do is that get these people in diaspora to also just link their BVN to their e-Naira platform. The same thing that they are doing on all other international app. They can also do it on in-app platform. So what that would do is that it will bring the FX inflow directly into the CBN position rather than actually taking it to other backboards. And I think with that we'll see more like we see improved inflows of FX into the market better than where we used to be.
All right, let's hope that does happen. But we also know that a sizable chunk of our diaspora remittance chases short-term government securities, especially with the higher interest rate environment that we have been in. And now with the current and projected policy direction or redirection, when you look at inflation and the last time the MPC had a hold, should we see more, less inflows in that regard? And what changes?
We'll see more inflow. We'll see more inflow because, like I mentioned earlier on, when you look at the return on the one-year instrument in Nigeria, you can still get close to about 23%, 23.5 thereabout%. And that is actually massive when you're looking at it from offshore perspective. In diaspora, most of these people barely can get 3% for a one-year instrument. So it means that you have about 20% spread advantage when you actually invest in Nigeria. And aside investing even in government security, there's a lot of opportunity in the stock market. When you look at the performance of most consumer names in this year alone, to a great extent, it actually tells you that there's a lot of opportunity in the market. Take, for instance, Nigerian breweries that actually opened the year around close to 30%, 30 naira is now over 54 naira now. So it means that it has actually increased by close to about 80% return. So some of these opportunities are some of the things that most of these guys they are seeing, and they may not actually be able to actually participate, either because they don't have BVN or because they don't even have accounts in Nigeria. But with this now, it means that we'll see more patronage on the capital market, both in the fixed income space and also in the equity space. And also, some of them also want to actually invest in the real estate part of the economy, and this also give them room also to actually inflow fund easily and also be able to actually invest in other sector of the economy. So I think that this will actually increase the level of influence of FX into our market.
Yeah, I mean, exciting news and good news for the economy all around, apparently. And let's come to inflation numbers that came out yesterday. Nigeria's inflation rate eased to 23.71% in April 2025, down from 24.23%, which was recorded in March. So it rose in March, it's down in April. We know that the Central Bank of Nigeria is expected to weigh this latest data ahead of its upcoming 300th MPC meeting taking place next week. Last time we had a hold, what are your anticipations for next week?
I think it's going to be a hold.
Another hold?
It's going to be a hold again. Okay. It's going to be a hold again. Because when you look at what the Central Bank Governor said 2 days ago, the Central Bank Governor mentioned that they are actually going to continue to operate orthodox policy. That is more like policies that are data-driven. If he had seen maybe another level of increase in the inflation figure for the month of April, of course, my vote should have been another level of increase at the forthcoming meeting. But because there was a drop of close to about 50 basis points, I think to a great extent the monetary policy guys will actually want to wait again to see whether this is just a flash in the pan or whether we're already seeing the full impact of some of the policies of the Apex Bank, and coupled with the fact that we're actually getting close deep into harvest season, whether we are started seeing the impact of harvest on food inflation. So I think it's going to be a hold rather than actually looking at for that tightening.
Okay, so another hold. I'll take you up on this next week when the decision is made. Oladipo Ajayi, Head Fixed Income and FX at Chapel Hill Denham. Thank you for joining us.